Hey there. I want to tell you a story from about a month or two ago, right? So there I was, 6:45 in the morning, start of a beautiful sunny day, right? Not a care in the world, clear blue skies, and had good music like Dwight Yoakam and Connie Smith cranked up on the car stereo, and life was good. And I was on the way to get some lab work done actually at the local medical clinic over here in Fogelsville, Pennsylvania. And I have to tell you, I was in a really great mood until I met the phlebotomist. Now, let me pause and give you a little sort of backstory to all this before I continue. Right? You know what? I'm my father's son. Okay, my dad, God rest his soul, he could walk into any room, anytime, anywhere, and literally make people laugh. I should say he could literally walk into a room, make people laugh, make them feel good about themselves uh, inside of like 2 minutes. Now I don't know how he did it over and over again for all those years, but it was certainly a gift that was uniquely his. And those of you, those of you that knew him when he was alive can back me up here. I mean, he can make people laugh. I'm still laughing now, right? 4 years after he's dead, just thinking about him. He can make people laugh like nobody else I know. And he made people believe in themselves. And although he also had a few demons that he passed on to me, you know what? The good in him far outweighed the bad. Everybody's got stuff, right? And I'll tell you what, although I am an amateur, and I can honestly only hope to be as goofy and as warm and as able to put people to ease as he was, he certainly blessed me with pretty much the same gift. Maybe I'm the apprentice. It's going to, I'll be 60 in a few months. It's going to take me a while longer to learn that craft of how to make people feel good and special and loved and cared for. And he did it all through humor, a lot of self-effacing humor. All right. So anyway, back to our story, right? I walk into the phlebotomist's office, specimen in hand. I got my jokes at the ready. It's 6:50 in the morning. I just listen to some good Dwight Yoakam, Connie Smith, old good honky tonk kind of country music, not this new crap that they got today. I don't even know from this stuff if it's country or not. But anyway, I walk into the office. I got my lab specimen in my hand, got my jokes all set. I mean, after all, that's who I am, right? So you know what? Even when I'm in a bad mood, I would rather joke than be angry. But I was in a good mood, like I said. After all, Connie Smith just sang her heart out for me, right? But how can I be in a bad mood? What more could I want in life? Sun's out, beautiful day, everything else. So I bring my special specimen in, right? I crack my first joke when she asked me the first question, and boom, dead air, radio silence. I mean, you could have heard a freaking pin drop. So I was like, ruh-roh, Shaggy, tough crowd, right? Right? Then I roll out my second joke. I think more silence. I'm like, oof, oof, ow. And at this point, I could swear she's getting like annoyed with me. So you know what? I changed my tactics. Quite frankly, I just answered her questions and I wanted to get the heck out of there. Um, I did what I needed to do, and I just want to get the heck out of here fast as possible, right? So as I get back into my wife's minivan and drive back home, I felt myself getting angry. I'm like, geez, what a grump she was. Here I am trying to make her day a little brighter on the early morning shift. All I got back was nothing but attitude. Screw her. And you know what? And then I paused for a second, right? I said, hey, Frank, wait a minute, man. It's a beautiful day on a beautiful morning. Life is good. And I've got some awesome tunes cranking here. I think at that time it was Sarah Borges or Borges and the Broken Singles. I don't know how to pronounce the last name. That's some good country music too, right there. Alt country, the kind I like. And most importantly, I said to myself, you know what? I like me. I like who I am. I mean, at least 90% of the time anyway. And that was not always the case. I'm here to tell you. One of the things I like about me is that over the years, I have become a lot more accepting of people and a lot less judgmental. And I sat there and I thought things over and I said, you know what? Hey, maybe she's just having a bad day, right? Maybe her boss is being a jerk to her for some reason that I don't know. And you know what? Maybe my sense of humor is not her brand of humor. You know, some people like it, most people like it, few don't. And that's okay. And you know what? It's all okay. It's all that's perfectly fine. Because I figure if I can make 90% of the people that I come into contact with laugh at my goofy, self-effacing humor, you know what? I will take that batting average because you can't please all the people all the time. You just can't. You can't win them all. Now, there's a reason I'm telling you all this, right? First of all, I want to ask you a question here. If you don't like who you are, how can you expect anybody else to like you? I'll say that again. If you don't like who you are, if you think there's something wrong with you, or if you think, you know what, I suck at this, I'm bad at that, people don't like me, I got problems with it, how can you expect somebody else to like you? So love starts at home, man, just like so many other things. Love starts at home. You're the only person that lives with yourself 24/7, 365. The only person that has to live with yourself 24/7, 365. So you better figure out a way how to love yourself, right? If you don't know who you are, if you don't love yourself, how you truly are, and if you don't know yourself deep, deep down, how can you expect to have any kind of happy life ever? How can you expect to have any kind of a happy life ever? And I'm really starting to believe, you know what, man? I'm really starting to believe that life, like so many other things, is 90% psychology, 10% technique, you know? And that's not an excuse for mixing who you really are with a healthy dose of, I would say, like being an adult. Because I mean, after all, we each live as an individual functioning within a society of other people. So you know what? You need to be able to pay your bills. You need to keep your own emotional issues to a minimum in public. Boy, I'll say that again, especially for people in, oh man, some people, they need to keep their issues to a minimum when they're in public, if nothing else. And you need to be nice to other people, right? You need to be nice to other people, keep your issues to a minimum, pay your bills, function in society. But you know what? That doesn't mean that you can't do you. Again, that doesn't mean that you can't do you. And by that, I mean being the truest, purest version of you and who you were born to be. Okay. You know what? Whether you're a scientist by day and a guy who plays slap bass in a jazz band at night, or you know what? I love the Twilight Zone. My oldest daughter and I, well, my oldest daughter's still at home, my 15-year-old Nora, and we love the Twilight Zone. Every summer we have like a Twilight Zone marathon together. Like our dear Mr. Henry Bemis in that one episode, Time Enough at Last. He just wanted to escape into his beloved books in order to be able to avoid being henpecked by his shrewish wife and his angry boss. He did him. Now, in that case, didn't work out so good because his glasses got broke, but you got to watch that episode to get the full drift, right? So you do you, because you know why? You can't do anybody else. You can't be anybody else. You can't become anybody else. You're with you. And I don't want to say you're stuck with you. And if I did say it, I would mean it in a good way. You know, yeah, you're stuck with you. So you might as well make your peace with you. 24/7, 365 for how many more years God gives you, you're stuck with you. So you better do you. And you know what? If you don't already do it, you better, or know how to do it, I should say, you better figure out a way to start liking yourself. Otherwise, you're screwed. I mean, you know, oh, sure, yeah, you can change to a certain degree and become the best version of you that you want to be. You know, you can give up smoking, you can lose weight, change your mindset, change your attitude. Good books like this, right? The Power. by Rhonda Byrne. This book is what is it, 100 something, 250 pages. Change your life, a good book like that, right? So you do you. You know what? You can't run from yourself. I've tried that. It never works. Can't hide from yourself. Never works. You can't try to be somebody else. It never works. In the end, it never works. Look at me, for example, right? I've tried to go the corporate route. I have, man. I've tried back then. Suit and a tie, laptop in hand. I mean, I failed. It's just not who I am. I've tried doing accounting and pivot tables and all that good stuff. I failed. It's not who I am. It's not me. I tried. God knows how I tried to fit into the typical, every child needs to be taught the same exact way, end quote, method of teaching that was in existence back when I was a kid in the 70s and 80s. I failed. I failed because I'm not the typical kid. I never was. I couldn't be. I'm like a don't show me. I mean, I'm sorry. I'm like a don't just tell me, show me, let me experience what you're teaching. Teach me about the world. Teach me about life. Don't teach me about garbage that I'm not going to use the rest of my life. Don't teach me to just repeat. Teach me to learn. Teach me to live. Teach me to love. Then you have me, right? Now, talked about work, the corporate round, talked about jobs, talked about school. Now, truly failing, quote unquote, and those quotes are intentional, and any one of those things could easily have set me down a wrong road in life. I'll tell you what, particularly in school, because I can remember getting glasses in fourth grade, those big plastic ones that your mom buys you. I don't know, man. They look good on Buddy Holly, but not me. That's for sure. I remember getting those glasses in fourth grade and just feeling like a dork. And I felt insecure, unconfident. And through my subsequent high school years, junior high and high school, yeah, I dated a little bit. But the only way I knew how to really talk to girls was through joking around. By the way, guys, that works. That does work. I did it right for myself. I was not a big athletic type. You know, I wasn't a jock. I loved football and I loved bike riding. I'd ride 30 to 40 miles, everything else. Loved it. Loved my baseball, loved Little League. I saw my trophy up on that shelf right back there, if you can see it, to this side of me. It's 1974. Island, New Jersey Athletic League. Little League champions. Blah. There we go. Right? See me though, I would much rather be hanging out by the train tracks with my friends as a kid, because I love trains then. I love them now. I've loved them since my grandfather gave me my first Lionel train set, like 1969 or 1970. We're talking 50 something years ago. So I'd rather be waiting for the next train to go by rather than playing a game of tackle. You know what? I'll tell you what. Thank God I made friends with my buddy, people like my buddy Tom Champiel, Willie Jones, Dan Belinsky, God rest his soul, Joe and Dave Grant, the Grant brothers, God rest Dave's soul as well. You know, it was a group of misfits and oddballs, misfit toys, I would say. And really a bunch of nice girls that we would eat lunch with every day. Karen Henderson, for sure, loved her then, love her now. Carol Milburn, loved her then, loved her now. Great people. And you know what? I'm sure some of them felt the same way as I did. You know, a bit of an outcast. Just trying to make our own way in the world, make their own way in the world. You know, each of us trying to make sense of who we are and where we fit in. That's what high school is like. And that's what life's like. And I do wish I knew all that back then, because I know even in school, my humor was not 100% appreciated. You know, again, like I say, 90% pretty darn good. And you know what else? When I got older, I realized I had two choices. One was to go down a rabbit hole of depression, poor life decisions, and eventual ruin. So that was my nature back then. I was, even as a kid, I was depressed, wanderlust, didn't know where I fit in, didn't feel in, felt stupid, felt awkward, partially because of the glasses, partially because, I even got kicked out. I'm the only kid I know that got kicked out of gifted and talented just for being bored to tears. It's like, don't teach me next year's crap. Teach me about life. Like I say, a rabbit hole of depression, poor life decisions, and eventual ruin. In fact, I can remember after my divorce going to my therapist, and she goes, Frank, if you don't change your ways, you're going to be dead in 6 to 12 months. I don't want to get in here. I'll get in it some other time. My therapist said, Frank, if you don't change your ways, you're going to be dead in 6 to 12 months. I'll tell you what, that sure woke me up if nothing else. I'm like, 6 to 12 months, that's pretty sure. We got to do something here, Frankie. So that was number one, right? That's the one way I could have gone. Number two was come to terms with who I was as a person and accept it. And I'll tell you what, not only accept it, but embrace it, because I'm stuck with me 24/7, 365, just like you are. So, I mean, after all, like, it wasn't that I could just jump bodies and brains and be somebody else. I wouldn't even want to be somebody else. I kind of like me most all the time, right? So I figured, if I was stuck with me, stuck living with me, and I mean that in a good way, thank you, God, for making me and all that stuff, right? I figure I might as well celebrate the good stuff and try to minimize. Now, I say minimize. I didn't say avoid or deny. I said minimize the bad stuff in me. I celebrate the good stuff in me. Things like I always try to be kind to people. Things like I always try to see the good in people. Things like my glass is always 90% full. I describe myself like a human cockroach, and I don't mean that in a gross, nasty way. But you know what? You drop an A-bomb on a city, one of the only things that's going to survive that A-bomb is a cockroach. When something bad happens, dust myself off, maybe got a little radiated and whatnot, I get up and I keep on moving. It's like those damn pesky cockroaches. Ain't nobody going to kill me, right? Another thing, my firm belief that as long as God keeps letting innocent babies being born every day, and he keeps making more babies, there's still hope for us all. Things like all I ever wanted to do in life was be a truck driver or a train engineer, settle down my wife and kids and a dog, hopefully, and live happily ever after. Things like I still tear up at the closing scene of Love Actually, and I never get tired of watching that movie. And boom, right in the heart, that fade out scene of all the different couples and families and friends at the airport, that hits me. Things like I will never sing in public, but I will sing my brains out, proudly sing my brains out, driving down the road in my pickup truck, cranking the tunes. Things like I'm still good friends with Michelle, Chris, Bonnie from my high school days. Like I said, Tom, Joe Grant, Willie Jones, God bless Dave and Dan, all the other friends we lost along the way, right? Things like, I still make new friends pretty easy. I don't let everybody into my heart or my inner circle, definitely, but I can make friends with people really easy. Something else I like about me, and I don't say it just point to this, none of this is to brag, right? I can listen to Sade, Merle Haggard, Dio, Casey and the Sunshine Band, and Dvorak's Eighth Symphony all in a row and love each one. Sade, like that smooth jazz, Merle Haggard, honky tonk, Ronnie James Dio, heavy metal, Casey and the Sunshine Band. That's the way, I like it, right? Love it. And Dvorak's Eighth Symphony, oh my God, that is mind blowing. That is like the quadrophenia of his time. God, that stuff's great, right? Things like I'm like my dad, both the good and the bad. Gotta embrace the good. I don't embrace the bad. I acknowledge it and I try to mitigate it. But he gave me a lot of good too, man. The bad stuff we work on, right? The good stuff we celebrate, right? I'm going to celebrate things like I was able to forgive my dad for his temper that he had when I was younger. Boy, did that affect me. But you know what? I figured it out. I'm quite sure if I was raised the same way he was and had experienced PTSD from being in a war, being in combat, and having to make life or death decisions, I probably would have had some trauma. I probably would have been a bit angry too, right? Things like I'm loyal to my friend. And you know what else? Knowing that deep, deep down, I really can't be so bad if so many people like me. And you know what? Some of them even love me. Go figure, right? Now, I said there was a point to all this, right? Now, the reason I'm laying my heart on the line right here is not to say, hey, look at me, look how great I am, blah, 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 blah. Nope, far from it. Rather, I'm bearing my soul here so that you know there's at least one other person in this world going through his own crap in life, still trying to figure out who he is at age 59 going on 60 and what exactly he's supposed to do in life, because I know God's got big plans for me. He keeps telling me, right? So in some small way, I hope this all gives you comfort. I was meant to be me. That's all I can be, man. I'm meant to be me. I can either embrace it, I can celebrate it, or I can hate it, and I can hide from it. See, I have to embrace both the good and the bad because I have no other choice. Embrace the good and embrace the bad. That means acknowledge it, call it what it is, and make your peace with it and do your best work on it. If you have no other choice, and I know for a fact, if I didn't make my peace with the bad, it would have definitely taken me down with it. And so the point of all this is you need to do you because you can't be anybody else. You need to do you. You need to love you. You need to figure out what's good about you if you don't know it already, and you need to celebrate it more, even if you do know it already, right? Because you can't be anybody else, like I say. So you have to be what you can do, though, really, is now to think about it, you know, you could be the best version of you. Be the best version of you. I mean, even if you don't feel it right now, man, you can make improvements starting anytime you want to. The power of now. I'm a student of Guy Finley, Guy, Guy, Finley. Google him about how you could change your life like that, man. You know, you can make improvements anytime you want. This second right now, this very second, I can make a change for the better in anything in my life that I want, right? And let me tell you what, whatever you do, please don't let other people tell you who you should be and what you should think. That's BS. Okay. So I hope some of this makes sense. I hope some of this makes hits home. There you go, Frank. I hope some of this makes sense. I hope some of this hits home. And I want to tell you, I got to laugh. My dad turned me on to this flick, right? As Harvey Korman, the late great Harvey Korman, God bless him, man, said in the classic movie Blazing Saddles, he said, now, I can't even say the straight face, right? He goes, now go do that voodoo that you do so well. And truer words were never spoken. I love you and I believe in you, Frank. And here's one right next to me. My dad, me and my dad, as when I was a kid, I was probably about 15, 16, that picture shows you we had love then, have love for him now. Yeah, we fought, Dad, but you were a good dude and I love you. All right, Frank, have a great day, man.